The following is a production of Shark Flight Media. Shark Flight Media. Shark Flight Media. Shark Flight Media.
From mechs to mages or agents to argonauts, this is the world of Chris Kennedy Publishing. This is the CKP Future Books Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Future Books. We once again have our intrepid publisher, Chris Kennedy, with us, and we're going to talk about the new releases in the month of March. And woohoo! Welcome, Chris. Thank you for coming. And how are you doing this month?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm doing pretty good. I'm pushing hard on the seventh uplink book that I have to get done by this weekend. So it's been a busy week. I'm averaging about 5,000 words a day. Pushing hard to get it done. It releases on Easter, so I got to get it turned in so it can get edited and be ready here in about 2.5 weeks.
Well, we're finishing I guess March will be the end of the first quarter of 2023, and so far we are on track to be on brand for what we talked about in December of last year, which is a few less books for the year, but much higher quality. I tell you, there hasn't been a book published in the year of 2023 that is not eminently readable and that people should not buy. Every single one has been a knock out of the park.
Well, I'm glad you think that. I will tell you that the sales so far this quarter have really reflected that too. We continue to try and make better and better, and I think it's working on selling better and better. So that's great for everybody involved. Get to pay the authors more. They're happy. They write better stuff, and the readers are happy, and everybody wins.
We're going to do something a little different this month. Ordinarily, we talk about just the books that are being released, but I want to start with the very last day of March, which is Melissa Olthoff's book, Knightfall under Keros. Melissa and Nick Steverson is this month's featured guests, and I was talking to her during her portion of the podcast, which we did first this month, and told her that I'm thinking very hard about having some sweatshirts made up that say KASEY KREW, Casey's Crew, because it seems like Casey Ezel has surrounded herself with people that are...
She's done a great job bringing some folks in that know how to write, and that's for sure.
We've got Casey Ezel, who wrote what I think is one of the best characters that we've ever had in the Four Horsemen universe. We have Casey Moobs, who his first book was tremendous, and now he's written how many for CKP? 3, 4?
I think it's probably 4, 5-ish. And he has a special project that he's doing too that's going to be phenomenal when it comes out.
And then she brings in Marissa Wolf, who I told Melissa Olthoff that was last year's Rookie of the Year. And now Melissa is well on her way to becoming Rookie of the Year 2023. So I don't know what Casey Ezel did to become a talent magnet, but I told them that at the first convention that all of them are in the same one, I'm going to get them to stand in a circle. I'm going to stand in the middle and hope some of it will fall off on me.
Well, she's got another one coming too, so we'll see how he does. She certainly has brought in an awful lot of talent to CKP, and I couldn't be happier with all of them.
So the novel that I'm mentioning is Knightfall under Keros, which is a Salvage Title novel. And then this month, as our featured guest, she is a co-author of a Salvage Title novel, which could stand on its own, called Hunters and Hijinks, and we will talk about that toward the end of the podcast. So the first book that's going to be released in April will be Children of
the... Just one last thing on Knightfall, since you brought it up. It is the second of her Salvage Bunny series that she did, and this is one that once you start it, you're probably going to want to go all the way through it, and this one will cause some people sleep because it's that good, and it's a fun read. It's a fun read, which doesn't mean it's always lighthearted, But it's a really great book, and I can't wait for the third one to close out that trilogy.
Absolutely. And Melissa is rapidly becoming in my list of authors that it doesn't really matter what she writes. I'm just going to buy it and read it.
It's not a bad way to go. The whole Izell pedigree there, I think just about any of them, you can just count on it being good.
I agree. So we're going to start off with April 7th, and we're starting the month with a new Fallen World novel. It's by J.P. Chandler, and it's called Children of the Fall. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. It is the third book in his run of the Fallen World. The second book was left on a huge cliffhanger that had people getting the pitchforks and the stakes and all of that. But happily he was able to avoid them and in time to get the third book out. He brings all of the things that he set up in the last book to a close in this, and it's a really good book. He's really grown as an author too, and you can see it even just across these three books in this series, and it's really good.
And by the time you finish Children of the Fall, it'll be close to April 14th. And on April 14th, we get a new Four Horsemen novel by Mike Jack Stoumbos called Defenders Arise. Is this going to be a book where we've seen this group before, or is this something new?
No, Mike Jack is doing something different, and it's his first effort in the Four Horsemen universe. He is a little bit different writer than what a lot of the other books are. So, I'm looking forward to bringing this one, because it'll be just a little bit different, which is always fun. You don't want everything to be exactly the same. So he's going to give it a little bit different take on it. I will tell you that, Jason Cordova, read it when it was first turned in, and he loved it. He's like, yes, you got to publish this. So that was his reaction. I think everybody, the Four Horsemen faithful are going to be just the same with it. So looking forward to this coming out, and giving it a little bit, some new life into the Four Horsemen universe, and it's going to be great.
And then in the middle of the month, on April 21st, we have a new book by a new CKP author, C.S. Ferguson, called The Backbone of Surprise. And unlike our listeners, I've been fortunate enough to get a copy of that early and read it. It is a tremendously good novel. I think this is going to be something that fans of the Last Marines and people who enjoy playing Halo will absolutely love this book. This is a great book by a new author, and I think that anyone who buys this is going to have a blast reading this book.
Absolutely, and he's former military, and I think it really comes out in that. It's got that gritty feel, of realism. And it's funny that you said Halo. I think you'll see a little bit of a Halo on the cover when it comes out. So looking forward to bringing this one out. I have all three books of the trilogy, and they'll be coming out back to back to back, every 5 weeks. So, if you're wondering, okay, well, hey, this is a new guy. When am I going to see the second book? Well, you're going to see the second book 5 weeks later, and then you're going to see the third book 5 weeks after that. So, you won't have to worry about, getting hung up on the new author. You can jump right in and the payoff is there.
And we've hit on this several times before, and I know that listeners are tired of hearing it, but I have to comment that our covers are getting better and better, and this is a tremendously cool cover. And if you don't look at every bit of it, there are some important parts you will miss.
Yeah, it's very nuanced. You look at it and you go, okay, that's cool. Then you look again, you go, oh wait, I didn't see. Oh wait, I didn't. Oh, so there's lots of different little things in there that really, I think once when you're finished reading the book, you'll look at it and go, oh wow.
Absolutely. This is, for anybody who's a fan of military science fiction, this is a must read. I think this is going to become a staple of CKP, and I can't recommend it enough.
Awesome.
On April 28th, we end up the month with our featured author for this month, Nick Steverson and Melissa Olthoff, and it's a new Salvage Title novel. And as I said earlier, this novel could have easily just been a standalone novel set in any universe. Fans of Robert Asprin, Terry Pratchett, or early Piers Anthony are going to really enjoy this book. There's a lot of humor. I've read it, and I have nothing but good things to say about it, and it's worth reading. Nick consistently puts out great books, and I didn't think he could get any better, but by pairing him with Melissa, we have got something that's more than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, what you just said. That it's the synergy is awesome with the two of them, and you know, when you see them together, they're like best friends. They pick on each other, they ride each other hard, and you know, just but in a good way. They're having fun, and it really comes out in the books that they write. Because I've got all three of these as well. And they'll be coming out, you know, back to back to back as well. So you don't have to, you know, not that you would wait on a Nick Steverson Salvage Title book, because, you know, he's already done 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, you know, probably about 4-ish by the time you count, you know, the DeCall series and the other shorts and everything that he's written. And Melissa's got, you know, now 2 out by the time everyone hears this. So this will be her third, and she's an outstanding author too. The two of them together are just great, and they have a great time, and it really, you know, speaks to the reader, you know, on the page.
We have a lot of fun on this podcast, and you know, we try to make it humorous. If nobody else laughs, we do. But
case in point,
as I said earlier, because of circumstance, we did the author interview before we did the publisher interview tonight, and we talked for several minutes. I brought up, and I want to bring this up with Chris, because as a publisher, he deserves a lot of kudos. There is one particular section of this book that is about a serious matter that I have never seen addressed in science fiction, and it is handled very well. And I made the sexist mistake of thinking that Melissa had wrote that section and was quickly corrected, and it was Nick who wrote this. I don't want to spoil it, but any person who is listening, if you have a teenage daughter who likes science fiction, this is a must read. If for nothing else, this one situation that is explored in this book. This is not just a good book. This is an important book.
That's great to hear.
And Chris, you deserve a lot of kudos and accolades for publishing this book. I don't know what award that something that addresses something like this should be put up for, but this book deserves some sort of award for addressing something that's becoming much more commonplace in our society, and does so in a really respectful and good manner.
Outstanding. We'll see what kind of awards we can go after with it.
So I don't have anything else to say about that, but this book,
that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. But this book should be read by any father that has girls, and should be offered toward any teenage girl that reads science fiction. And maybe a couple of months from now, we'll revisit this conversation and spoil that. But I don't want to go into detail because it would spoil a really good and important part of this book.
Awesome. Well, I'll look forward to talking with you about it here in a couple months. Because that's only as far as we're going to have to wait to get the third book.
Yes, these books are coming out back to back. They're what we call a fast track series. So the first 3 books have already been completely finished, and so that allows us to bring these out to you every 30 days. Roughly.
Yep, they're sitting in my hot little hands waiting for the right time to punch them in and get them out.
So unlike traditional publishing, where when you finish the end of this great new series that has started and now you've got to wait a minimum of 365 days, you only have to wait a month with CKP. Yep. So woo-hoo. Let's stick our tongues out and blow a raspberry toward traditional publishing.
Absolutely.
We have several audiobooks coming out in April. We got the Chimera Group. We've got The Never Ever War, which is a Lunar Free State novel. That's worth purchasing. Bastari, one of the James Tarr novels, Valhalla Awaits, and that will cover our audio selections in the month of April.
Yeah, those are some great titles right there, too.
Those are all stars.
Yeah, those are great. And I know I've heard a couple sections from a couple of them, and they'll be great. The same person that does the Lunar Free State is doing, obviously doing that one because he's doing the whole series. Bestiary is Tantor is producing it, production company called Tantor, and they have a Brit that's been working on getting the right accent for Seamus. So that's going to be awesome too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's such a fun character. It's good that he's not going to be speaking American. So
I agree 1,000%. I love audiobooks where either the voice actor has the ability to do several voices himself, and I find a lot of pleasure in the few books where there's an actor for each voice of each major character. So this will be worth listening to, having somebody who's able to do the accents and characters. And I want to throw in my 2 cents. Anything that's done by Chris Nuttall is going to be great, and the Chimera Coup, the book was great, so I imagine the audiobook will be great also.
Yeah, that also has a British narrator. For those that don't know, Chris is from the UK, and I was surprised when I heard him the first time, and then I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. This is really good, because I've heard that book too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Man, it must be great to be king.
It's a lot of fun some days.
Well, that pretty much wraps up the month of April for me. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about or need to talk about this month?
I don't. Looking forward to another great month in May. You'll even see something with that Kennedy guy's name on it.
Are you still publishing him?
Yeah.
Yeah. He must know something about you.
He comes around periodically and throws something up, so we'll see.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out. We know you're super busy. It's hard to do as many books a year as you do and get any sleep. So we're going to let you off early this month. Look forward to talking to you next month. And thank you so much.
Awesome. Hey, thanks a lot, Randy.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to the second half of the Future Books podcast. This week, we have a special treat in a couple of ways. We have Nick Steverson and Melissa Olthoff. They have written a fabulous book called Hunters and Hijinks that everyone is going to really enjoy. Nick should be known to everybody who is a reader of CKP books. He has written in several of the universes in CKP. He is a fabulous writer, and Melissa is new to the stable of writers. She is what I affectionately call part of Casey's crew. I think her first novel with CKP will be coming out shortly, and she has written with Nick this new book, which is set in the Salvage Title Universe, but it could easily be a standalone novel. Thank you guys for coming and talking to us today.
Thanks for having us.
I have been looking forward to this. All podcasts are fun. Some are more fun than others, and this one had me sitting on the edge of my seat. This book reminds me so much of the books that I read when I was in my teens and 20s. I looked for books that had good stories but were humorous. I was telling Melissa earlier, this reminds me very much of early Robert Asprin, very much early Piers Anthony, maybe even a little Terry Pratchett thrown in. So, guys, kudos! This is a great book.
Thank you, man. We had a really fun time writing it. It was a little too much fun. It was insane.
Our spouses put up with a lot when we were plotting stuff. They're amazing, but yeah, we had a blast writing these books.
I would imagine that if it was late at night, they're trying to sleep, the cackling coming from your rooms probably kept them up. So I can imagine this was a fun book to write. How long did it take y'all to write this?
Somewhere between 6 and 8 weeks.
Wow. Yeah. Are we going to get more books with these characters? Maybe?
There's a whole trilogy already written and ready to go.
Oh man, I cannot wait. To give our listeners a little backstory, I could do it, but I would rather hear from you guys. So let's say, Nick, give us a summary.
A band of office workers who are already close get sick of their jobs, hate their boss, and decide one day, screw this place, we're going to go hunt some treasure, even though we don't know anything about hunting treasure, and we're going to buy our own ship. We don't know anything about ships, though, but that's okay. And off we go.
Okay. And Melissa, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major characters that I think are protagonists in this book that for various and different reasons, I fell in love with almost every one of them. I related to Harold because I'm an old man. I love Maddie, and Reggie is Chris Evans in a Captain America uniform. Wannabe. Every character is fabulous. Tell me, did you have an inspiration for these characters, or is this something that y'all just came up with just collaborating with each other?
So basically, like Nick and I, when Nick asked me to co-write these with him, he's like, I've got an idea. What do you think? I'm like, I think this is going to be amazing. So we started texting just little snippets of conversations, and the characters kind of developed from there. Initially, Harold was meant to be, I think, a little bit more of the main character. And then we're like, no, it's Reggie. Reggie is absolutely the main character. And he's so controlled. And then he is just over everything. And Maddie is just a sarcastic ball of rage and is pretty much my work persona. So she's my favorite.
You already answered my next question. I was going to say, which character do you most identify with? And I do absolutely love Maddie.
Oh, Maddie is my favorite. I love writing her. Her voice is like permanently lodged in my brain. She's never leaving. She's right up there with Salvage Bunny and Athena, my Valkyrie's character. She's just sarcastic and sassy, and she's got all the attitude.
Yeah, Maddie's a lot of fun to write. I think if I had to pick one, it would honestly be Reggie. There's a lot of myself in Reggie. I really enjoyed writing it.
I found the concept of him being so controlled and you guys not letting us, the reader, know what was going on behind that facade till about, I don't know, maybe between a third and a fifth of the way through the book, because at first you see him as the guy who's trying to do the right thing and he's so controlled and everything. And then you get to the point in the book where you realize all of that's a facade. His true self is so pressed down by the corporate culture that even he doesn't know who he is anymore.
He got PTSD from a call center.
I worked as a computer tech for a long time, and you can get PTSD from a call center.
Harold was very much Sean Connery from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Absolutely.
That is great. I never even thought of that. That is absolutely perfect. Tell us a little bit about Ed. Somebody. And tell me how did you come up with the idea of halfway through the book turning him from a lovable oaf into the smartest guy in the room?
He has unplumbed depths, okay? Ed is amazing.
He almost has that childlike ability to see the things that are right in front of your face that nobody else sees. Like, he can point out the most obvious thing in the world, but he's the only one in the room that sees it for what it is. And he's kind of a stoner, so
Yeah, he's
just a chill guy. He's the token surfer dude of the group.
Yes, but you guys were genius in how you took this character that for over half the book you're kind of ignoring. He's just okay, I need to pick up the heavy thing. And the next thing you know, he's flying spaceships and figuring out puzzles. And he brought along the most critical element of the whole story. I love my Boo.
Boo turned out to be like one of our favorite little ship mascot side characters to write, because she's very smart and she's very key as far as like progressing the story, but she's not sapient. She's not like an intelligent species hiding in plain sight or anything like that. She's just a really cool, chill little space monkey.
Mm-hmm. With tentacles.
Yeah.
Can't forget the tentacles. Oh my God.
And then you have two throw-off characters that I'm praying we see again. Your mall cop and your dragon.
I love the mall cop. That was like we were thinking about how to do that section, and I'm like, we have to have a dang mall cop. It has to be, and it has to be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in my head, I was hearing the guy, the what's his name? The guy that did the MMA movie.
Oh yeah. I know you're talking about Blurt.
Sorry,
Malcolm. Blurt. Malcolm.
Yeah, his voice was in my head every time he said something, and I loved his little hover bike.
I'll get a new one in 6 months. It's fine. It's fine.
And then when he catches them, the surprise. When the consequences of their actions, that was hilarious. You threw me 180 degrees with that. That was so funny. So will we see our dragons again in the next two books?
Maybe. Just have to wait and see. They're coming out.
You're killing me, guys.
I will say this, that when we introduce characters in book one, everything we've done in book one is linked all the way through book three, and everything connects. Almost every scene in Hunters and Hijinks has a purpose in the book for the end of the book and leading into book three. It took us forever to figure out what we were going to read for the CKP Confidential thing, because we didn't want to give anything away. It was so hard trying to figure out what to do.
We talked about it for almost a week. Like, well, what about this scene? Well, we don't want to give that away. What about this scene?
That's the problem I'm having doing the podcast right now. I don't want to give anything away because you guys did such an excellent job of chapter after chapter leading me down this primrose path, and I'm turning the next page saying, okay, this is how this is. Oh,
no, not that one.
And another lovable character. The ship itself is a character.
Yeah.
And where did you come up with the idea? Melissa, where'd y'all come up with the idea for the ship being the way it is instead of the traditional gung-ho pirate ship, we're going treasure hunting?
Well, I mean, Nick kind of said it at the beginning. These are like office workers. That's like if you took like Office Space or the Office characters and you put them in like, a sci-fi setting like the Salvage Title Universe. They don't know the first thing about getting a good ship. And not all,
especially Harold.
Right? Especially Harold, our lovable old oblivious character. Love that old man.
Yep.
But yeah, they're not going to get the best ship. And personally, I am a big fan of the name Hyeta, but you're going to have to wait for quite a little bit through the book before you find out what that name is.
I'm going to give Melissa full credit for that when she came up with that. That was awesome.
Well, and I want you to know that several times while reading the book, especially at night when I would close it, I'd lay in bed going, Haida, okay, that's got to be an acronym. I never had a clue that was what the acronym was for. So it was absolutely perfect.
A quick story about that, like fighter pilot culture. I was active duty Air Force. My husband was a fighter pilot. Most call signs are acronyms. They stand for something. So I took that concept and applied it to our naming convention for our spaceship.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was a professional firefighter for 40 years. And so no firefighter has their real name. Every firefighter has a name that is given to them that they cannot choose themselves. And you're stuck with it. So you better hope you get a good one.
Right.
But everything has a meaning. So Haida is a great name. Let's see. What else do I want to talk about? You've got 3 more coming out. Do you know when the next one's being released? June. So we're expecting the book 2 to be out in June.
And book 3 is in July, but we're actually not giving away the titles of book 2 and 3 because we have we came up with a way of titling these books where it flows, and the titles of book 2 and 3 tells you too much about the stories to give away.
Oh, okay. Well, we will anxiously await those. I can't say enough good things about the book. I would say I identify with Reggie, but I love Ed. I wish there was an Ed doll or an Ed action figure.
He was so much fun to write because you had that line of being airheaded and just a big dolt, and giving him his real personality that most people don't see past his just chillness. Yeah,
Ed is not stupid, and that's what like people might assume, especially in that story. They think he's stupid, and he's not. He's actually quite intelligent. He's just very laid back, very chill.
I do want to if this goes too far into spoiler, I don't mind you not answering. But this question is specifically for Melissa. There is a bar scene that is critical in the book. And I think every parent that has a teenage daughter who has an interest in science fiction needs to read that scene. I thought that was handled in the best manner I have ever seen anybody handle that in science fiction. Can you talk a little bit, maybe without spoiling too much?
So, funny story. Nick and I, when we co-write together, we tend to, I'll write some and then he'll go through and he'll add stuff. He'll write some, I'll go through and add stuff. So we blend it really well. That was not my idea. That was actually Nick.
Nick, I apologize for being a sexist.
To be fair, there are lots of scenes in all 3 of these books. You're not going to guess who wrote that scene.
Well, will you speak a little bit? Can you speak a little bit about that particular scene? Or do you feel like that's a spoiler?
I don't know if it's a spoiler. What I can say is I wrote that from a father's perspective because I have a teenage daughter. I have a wife. I grew up with my wife as a teenager, and we knew people who went through situations of that nature. And me and Melissa have had conversations, and she was in the military and just a woman in college, and it's just something that has to be paid close attention to. And I think it really helped, from an authorial perspective, it really helped develop Maddie's character.
It also helped grab the story a little bit. Like it's ridiculous and it's bonkers, but this helped ground it in reality a little bit, and it gave us a subplot to work through with Maddie dealing with the fallout.
It's a real life situation. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I was going to say it's not just Maddie. I love the fact that within 50 pages of that happening, you get to see the effect of that on every single major character and how they deal with it. It's not just the person that it happens to that it affects.
And it also affects how she reacts to something else that was an accident later on.
Absolutely. And I want to say that to give Chris some accolades and you two some accolades. I've read a lot of science fiction over 50 plus years. This is the only time that I have seen this particular situation addressed, at least directly. And I'm sure there's others out there, but this is something that needs to be seen. These type of things need to be addressed in fiction, so that it becomes something everybody's aware of, that you don't become aware of it when it happens to you.
Right. I think a lot of people use it in their books as a shock and awe factor. I wanted to put it, and we wanted to put it in a way where it can be, related to real life situations, like the way it should be handled, and a more realistic setting, and not something to make you go, holy crap, that just happened. You know what I mean? It's more of something that hits home.
Well, it hit me right between the eyes. I have a daughter, and she's married now. But that situation was one that always bothered me. And in my professional life, I got to see this particular situation happening, and in some cases, the sad things that result from that. So kudos, guys. If awards are being given out this year, you guys should get an award just because of that one scene, because it is absolutely necessary and it was well done. And it wasn't like you were trying to send a message. You were just writing good fiction, and good fiction is grounded in reality.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, really.
I also want to say, you can have the best story in the world, you can have crappy characters, you've got a bad book. But if you've got good characters, you can have a crappy story and still have a good book. In this case, readers, you are getting both in this book. So please, anybody who's interested in laughing out loud and reading a very, very good book, please go out and get Hunters and Hijinks. We all know what Nick can do. He's hit every book he's ever written out of the park. And I've read almost all of them. And Melissa, being part of Casey's crew, I do not know what Casey Azell does to be a magnet to bring the people who have all the talent in the world together. But next time I'm at a convention and they're there, I'm going to stand in the middle of that group and hope some of it falls off on me.
And Melissa's fantastic. Her second book for Salvage is about to come out, but her first book was amazing, Sunrise Over Shippo. And I've read her Valkyrie book as well that's soon to come out later on. And it's just, she doesn't just tell you a story. She sings you a friggin' song, and my Neanderthal ass is over here smacking you in the head with a word club. You know what I mean? So I honestly learned a lot from her writing these books with her. And I'm a better writer.
Wow, that's amazing.
I am absolutely
Go ahead, Melissa.
I'm a better writer for working with Nick. Like, the improvement that we've both seen in our own writing over the past 8 months it's incredible. Like, our writing speed is up. Just how we handle situations is improved. I think we make a really good team.
Yeah. If you thought book 1 was really good, just wait till 3.
I absolutely cannot wait. And I'm going to find out if Chris has them, because I may have to twist an arm.
He's got all 3 of them.
Yes, he does.
All right. So we're getting close to the time where we're going to have to close out the podcast, but I do want to talk a little bit about, and I'm going to take each of you individually. We'll start with Melissa as the rookie of the group. Melissa, what have you got coming out? Social media, how can people follow you and make sure that they know what you have coming out? You're going to be an author that people are going to want to have a place to go to see what you're working on, so they know they get the next episode of whatever it is you're writing. So tell us a little bit about your social media and tell us what on store for 2023 for Melissa.
Okay, well, like Nick said, I've got Salvage Bunny 2, Knightfall under Keros, coming out next Friday, March 31st. I'm really excited about that one. It picks up right where Sunrise Over Shippo left off, and I think y'all are going to like it. Outside of that, Nick and I have the 3 releases coming out in May, June, and July. We planned that for a rapid release. And I've got the new spinoff of Hit World, the Valkyries initiative with Marisa Wolf. Oh man, you guys, it's going to be amazing. I've read The Spider, which is going to be the first book that follows after the anthology. It's going to be awesome. Mine will be the 3rd one released in that new series.
I want to interrupt for just 1 second. Anybody who's not read the Valkyries anthology, stop the podcast, go on Amazon, order it, then come back to the podcast. That may be the best anthology ever produced by CKP Publishing. There is not a bad story in it, and you cannot put it down once you start reading it. Now go ahead.
One, I absolutely agree. Being a part of that anthology was amazing. All of the stories are great. It was really, really a lot of fun working together with Marisa and everybody else on that one. But y'all can find me at melissaolthoff.net. If you go to my website, you'll notice that it looks oddly familiar. It's because I copied Marisa Wolf's homework, because the website is amazing. I mean, like everything she does. I'm also on Facebook, Melissa Olthoff, and then Melissa Olthoff _author, because as Nick says, I have multiple personalities.
And I do what the voices in my head tell me to.
Right? I have so many voices in my head, but they're all characters. And, I'm going to make them pay rent with this writing thing. So y'all can find me there. I'm on Facebook all the time.
I'm sure this is not going to be the only episode of our podcast that you are involved with. You're going to be Rookie of the Year. Last year it was Marissa. This year it's going to be Melissa.
Thank
Nick,
you.
tell us about you. Tell us about the stuff you've got coming out. Tell us about some of your backlist. Tell us how to keep up with you on social media.
Oh, so to keep up with me, I'm on Facebook. I got 2 pages, my Nick Steverson author, actual profile. And then I got Nick Steverson author. It's a page that you follow. Either one of those. Send me a friend request, whatever. Then it's www.nicksteverson.com. Real easy to find. It's probably not as organized as Melissa and Marisa's, but you can still go click on stuff. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, everything. As far as what I got coming, I got May, June, and July releases with Melissa with Hunters and Hijinks, and then book 2 and 3. And then I am working on a 4 Horsemen novel titled Honey Badger. It will be.
I already like it.
It will be connected with the Peacemaker saga that just wrapped up. It is connected to that. And then later on this year, Kevin Eikenberry, the great and awesome Kevin Eikenberry, and I are working on another 4 Horsemen novel together. And Melissa and I actually have 3 more Space Hyenas books to write, because this is going to be 6 books and not just 3.
Yep.
Oh, man.
We've already got them pretty much planned out. We know what's going to happen. She and I have a secret project that is 3 novels that we're going to be doing. I have another project with Jason Cordova that is going to be a lot of fun that I can't really talk about, but coming, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to do that. And I don't know, you've heard of the Bureau 42 anthology. It's been talked about. I've got a story coming in that connects to Honey Badger. So
great.
I got a lot going on. I'm busy as crap.
Well, I was going to mention something off air. I follow you. I thought we had you on the podcast before, but you corrected me and said that we hadn't. But I follow you through CKP, and you have to be the hardest working author at CKP. I don't know when you sleep.
I try, man. I don't sleep a ton. I get up at 2 and 3 in the morning to go to work, and then I do the dad thing kid thing when I get home, and the husband thing, and then I try to find time to write down a couple 100 words or something. But it's tough. But if you want to do this, you got to do it. It's either you do it or you don't. You know,
you gotta carve out the time.
That's how it is. So writing with Melissa made us both, like I said, we said earlier, a lot faster, and we put out we finished 3 novels in 6 months.
That is amazing. Well, I can't think of any other questions I have for you right now. I can't wait to get you back on again. Nick, I humbly apologize for not having you on the podcast before this. I thought I had. So that is completely on me, and it won't be the last time we have you on.
Oh, it's fine, man. Better late than never.
And Melissa, I tell you what, I am absolutely excited. As I told Marisa Wolf when I finally got to interview her, I am absolutely excited about following where you go, because I don't think there is any limit on how far you're going to go. You both are fantastic writers, and thank you so much for writing this book. It was an absolute joy to read.
And we're glad you liked it, man. We're hoping to get the same reaction from everybody else. You know what I mean? It was just supposed to be a fun ride that everybody loved. You know.
Well, I don't know about everybody, but I can tell you I enjoyed it. So look forward to doing this again. Thank you so much for your time.
You've been listening to the CKP Future Books Podcast with host Randall Willis. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider leaving it a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you subscribe. Show likes and channel subscriptions are also much appreciated on the CKP YouTube channel. Finally, if you'd like to know more about this author or others on the CKP roster, visit chriskennedypublishing.com. Thanks for listening to the CKP Future Books Podcast. We'll see you next time.